28th of October 2023, state of the garden. So the viburnum, obviously they've gone to the white stage and they're sort of starting to brown off, which might be to do with the amount of water they're getting. So this apple tree here, which is from, there's the car going past, self-save seed, is replacing one of the nectarine trees, because the nectarine trees around here tend to get the leaf curl issue. And I didn't jump on top of it enough time this year because they sort of bloomed before I was ready for it. But anyway, we'll see how we go. So progress in the garden here. That's actually new, I hadn't seen that before, so there we go. I think that's one of the Aquilegia plants. Now, Forza Red was what that Lilium variety is. Probably forgot because I'm not really a car person, so it didn't stick in my mind. But anyway, the Nepeta is doing quite well there. Another Lilium there. I suspect this is Nigella that I sowed some seed of. It turns out it's quite prolific. It's growing in a number of places now where I put the seed. So that's right. This is, I suspect, a potato plant that is self-sown. I might actually pull it out. Yep, there we go. Some potatoes. In fact, I might just pocket some of those. Well, maybe one. Yeah, there we go. So I might just carry that and I can put that elsewhere. And here, the hollyhock, you can see starting to get some buds on it. It's certainly growing quite tall, which is nice. The Dutch iris there, which is starting to finish its life, which is right. And here, some lovely sights. Those are the mental blanket dahlias that I grew from seed last year. I left them in the ground. I didn't do anything with them really. I just sort of, as you can see, I sort of cut them back, or snapped them back actually, because they'd dried off at that state, and just left them. And I wasn't sure if they'd survive, but they have all survived, and now they're growing. So that's quite nice. And over here, I've converted this patch that was basically the soil that I took off the ground when I tried to level this area, and I've put some sunflowers in here, and they seem to be doing all right, except for that one, which looks like it's been a bit chewed. But I just put lawn clippings on here to try and help fertilise the ground a bit and give it a chance to actually develop a bit more. So more hollyhocks over here, doing their little thing, and the lupin starting to get some flowers on it, which is quite nice. Hopefully they're a bit bigger this year, a bit more established, which would be nice. With the alyssum doing a nice job of creating a base cover. The snapdragons there, I'm pretty sure they're dwarf snapdragons because they're not overly big. And these, again, I think Aquilegia. These are actually the first ones that grew, and grew quite nicely actually. I'm quite happy with those. And we've got more of the alyssum. So alyssum, I think I called it something else before. Oh, hang on, get rid of that sticky weed. I don't like that. Snapped off a bit lower. That's right. That's the one weed that I particularly focus on getting rid of at the moment. I do get other ones here and there, but that's the main one. I say, look, I'll come back to that because I've got the label somewhere. That this plant here, there is the label for it. It's a bit hard to read from here. It's not liking the wind too much, which is not surprising. We do get some fairly strong winds here, but it is growing all right. So hopefully it develops well. It did develop a bit of a bud early on, a bit lower down to the ground, but it seems to have gone now. Lobelia, I think it is. Blue eyes. Oh, hang on. Yes, there we go. Lobelia blue eyes. So that's doing all right. And here, this is the rose that I actually bought. As we can see, part of the sentimental range. Oh. Sentimentalo. I did actually pick one of these. This one's actually getting a bit up now, but they're quite nice. There's an earwig in there, but that's right. And that's going well. So, I think these are my gladioli. I don't think I had that many planted originally, so they might well have expanded or dropped seeds and those have grown, because I did I haven't sort of done anything with this other than put new things in and given it a top coating. So if it's growing more from what it had before, I'm quite happy with that. And I look forward to seeing what it comes up as. So these are my original Liliums. It's a LA hybrid. And this one started as a double when I first got it. Sorry, I thought I had something on my finger. And that one looks like it's doing the same again. They look a lot sturdier this year, which is good. So they might not droop over, which would be nice. And the Johnny Jump Up is doing very nicely there. Do a quick turn around this way. Lavender there. Lavender there. Lavender's over there. This little garden bed starting to come along. Probably needs a bit more water. Excuse the pole. And here we have another Aquilegia that seems to be doing all right. Again, it's looking a bit drippy at the moment because it's been a bit warm today, but also very windy. A bit more colour. Come along. Closer onto the lavender. And then the bits on the corner there. Now, this one, again, with pretty much just about all my fruit trees, bar the Granny Smith, I think. I think this one's a plum, but I'm not sure. It does get those little black caterpillary, wormy, sluggy type things on it. Certainly did last year. I haven't seen any so far this year, so I hope it will do okay, but we shall see. Let's do a quick duck around this side. I won't do a cut for it. We're going to go full straight through, walk through live as it happens, as it were. So the main thing here, of course the music might stop. I might stop it for a moment in case this section isn't usable because of the music in the background. I might have to refilm it. There's a group that are, I think, building a new home in a block that's been vacant for a while, and they've obviously got their music on as they work on a Saturday, so, you know, good on them for being diligent workers and things. So I've got a lot of these beans coming up. It makes my garden almost look like I know what I'm doing. And then you look at this, and there's a lot of self-sown potatoes here. I actually don't mind that at all. I'm quite happy to have crops that I didn't plant intentionally, so that's fine. The garlic here, I have pulled a few of them. Occasionally I pulled them because I thought they might have had white rot. This is kind of what they look like. I think it was actually just a bunch of muckiness on the end, and some of them might actually have had a little bit of an issue with drainage, so they might have gotten a little bit just too soaked, as it were, so that should be fine. The white grape is still doing its best there. Obviously it's not getting as much sun as it should, but it is still growing. The hope is that it grows all the way up there, over this bit of rebar mesh that I put there, and the hope is that I can then chain it along there, and I'll put another bit over there that it can grow onto, and then it'll have a lot more sun on the opposite side, and it can grow along there, hopefully, happily. A number of beans, I think, or peas I should say, I think they're snow peas, either that or the sugar snap peas. I had a couple of packets of both. I'm not sure which ones those are, but there we go. I think I'll get a bit closer at the risk of having the music show up a bit louder. I think this is radicchio. I could be wrong. It might just be a different form of lettuce, but because of this lovely sort of purplish, reddish colour to it, I'm wondering if that's what it is, and that will be forming the heart there, which would be quite nice. Now, the other thing you can see is a lot of these weeds here. I had been picking them out, but it actually occurred to me that they might create a nice little sort of green cover, green mulch. So I'm going to let them stay and see how they go. I actually just noticed this one here, little onion that's a bit above the surface. I might have to bury that a bit more, but that should be all right. And I finally managed to get some of my seedlings in and not eaten by the pests around here, so they can grow. I think there's some broccoli and pak choy, I think. One of the self-sown potatoes actually has a flower. And I've got some corn in amongst there. Each of these stakes has a mortgage lifter tomato planted with it, so hopefully they will do all right, but we shall see. More beans, and a kohlrabi. There we go. I was going to say mental blank, but I managed to get there in the end. That one's the red grape. Sorry, there. That one's certainly growing quite a bit better there. It's obviously the sunny position does well for it. These are the cabbage that was attacked mercilessly last year, or actually earlier this year technically, by the caterpillars, but it survived and then it's obviously gone to seed. I'm happy to leave that there. I don't have anything to put in there at the moment in its place, so it can just stay there. And the parsley has finally decided to sort of die off, or perhaps I'm just not giving it enough water to keep it going, but it's been there for a long time, so that's all right. I've converting this bed to a more dedicated strawberry bed. So these are the strawberries that I got quite some time ago, and that's the end of the one that this was born from a runner of. So this one's obviously doing all right. And then I've got some alpine strawberries that I got as seeds, and they've grown enough to put out here, so hopefully they'll do well. The netting I got for free with one of my many pickups, and I've put it over now because I did have a lovely big red strawberry that was growing. It just needed a little bit more ripening, but before I could get to it, something else did, and I suspect it was a mouse. So there's every chance it could still be getting in there now, because I had left the remains of it in there and it's gone, or it could have been a bird pecking through it. So either way, bit of a nuisance, but there you go. The apricot tree is thriving despite its damage earlier in the year. And this tree, which I thought was a nectarine tree, has a number of fruit growing on it that actually look a bit furry. Now, last time I had that, I thought they were peaches, and it turned out to be the apricots. But I'm going to say this one is a peach, just because the leaves are a little bit different, and hopefully it is. Either way, it's stone fruit, and I love stone fruit, so I don't really mind which one it is. The gooseberry bush is doing well, and the rhubarb is actually even coming up now, so hopefully that does well. The leeks, some of them at least, seem to have survived and are doing all right. And as I said, there's some corn scattered in there growing, some carrots, and a couple, well, three actually, iceberg lettuce there seem to be doing all right. And there's also a lot more carrots over there, and in amongst there are actually some more carrots as well. So the current state of the compost, this is the new compost heap, so it's got a whole bunch of bits and pieces. And this is the old one, which I'm actually quite pleased with, because that's now quite nicely rotted down. Most of that used to be manure, and then it's kind of the kitchen scraps, but that's now quite a nice compost, which is good for my growing. That's a hollyhock, which is kind of barely hanging on. And now that I look at it, I think the cucumber that was here has gone. I suspect that was eaten, so I'm going to have to get another one of those growing and try that again. The remains of the sugar snap peas there. So as I was saying before, this is the Granny Smith apple tree that is store-bought, and it's sort of doing all right here. It's got its own little place. I don't know if we'll actually get the apples developing completely this year. They did develop some last year, but then they sort of died off, and that's okay, because they're not really supposed to be left to grow for the first year or so. Give them time to develop. Now this is my bought raspberry, which was developing flowers for fruits. Not focusing. Too much wind. And maybe they still will, but it is looking a bit beaten back, which it did last year as well, or earlier this year. I can't remember, because our autumn was kind of a second spring of sorts. But anyway, so it might still come good. I don't know. Here we have, as you can see, sunflower Van Gogh. These ones I actually bought from a seed company in Australia. So they're just a bit of a unique variety. I'd be curious to see how they go. Dahlia seed, one of those accidental saved ones. So basically it was just a case of the flower head I'd left them in the garden bed, and I noticed one time that the dried flower heads actually had seeds in them. Took them out, planted them, and they have grown. Pak choy, as you see there. So I'm trying to let them grow a bit longer so they have a better chance when they get planted out, and it did seem to work with some of those ones out there. My cutting of gooseberry, the one that I left in the pot instead of the ones that I took out and basically killed off, but that's okay. I'm going to let that keep growing there until it shows signs that it really needs to move out. I'll leave it there, but then I'll be quite happy to have an extra one at some point. Here, as you can see, I've got listed as capsicum, so that's bell pepper. For those in the northern hemisphere, I seem to have one kiwi fruit plant that is still going, which is good. See how that ends up. Now the big change here is the end, and I quite like this bit because it's nice and green, much better without those raised beds in here, because the soil here, because it does actually go down, there is a lot of sandy muckiness in there from the previous owners, but having the dirt and things on top means there's a greater thermal mass to retain the moisture and the temperature, so I think that's doing a lot better for the plants. Now the big development I've had is obviously I've strung up the bean, again snow pea I think for that one, but the tomato, which is actually a cherry tomato that used to be in the raised bed, it's now in a pot, and that actually did develop some, I don't know if you can see, they're little tiny ones, but that particular branch looked like it was just about dried and dead, so I took that one off, and I've strung the rest, well, this particular branch, so it can grow upward, and I've done the same with the beans here. So that's more of the, I think they're called broad beans. They're the bush variety, the smaller ones. Just notice a little insect on there. See if I can focus on it. Probably not, and it'll probably fly away before I can. Oh, there we go. So, again, at the risk of that music in the background causing this to be cancelled, I might have to leave it there. I might actually harvest that broccoli now, because that looks like that's going to go to seed, but that's okay. A few sort of plants in there, eggplants actually, aubergines, eggplants. This is dahlia that I bought as a tuber. It says $15, it's actually $10, nice deal. That's called African Sunrise. There's one here called Nugget, but as you can see it has not started showing itself yet. So I don't know if I've killed that one off or if it's just taking its little time. We'll see how it goes. And just occurs to me, I've got that last little bit over here with the back area, which will come through to. So the lawn has, I have actually mown it once, but obviously it's not, it is growing quite quickly. So here the ranunculus is starting to die back. The apple tree, listeria? I can't remember. These ones I grew from seed, and the little flowers, they originally started looking quite small. I thought, oh, that's not going to be much, but they've actually come on quite a bit since then. They've bloomed a lot more. So I've got another sunflower there. That I actually ordered specially. That is the famous, as it were, Cafe au lait dahlia, so hopefully that does well. Orange tree, sunflower, and a sweet pea that keeps falling over. A whole bunch of lettuce, because I accidentally transferred those over with the soil. That's fine. Hebe, one of the ranunculus that's not doing so well. More of the listeria, I think it's listeria. Another sunflower, another ranunculus, which is doing all right. I suspect that's another sunflower. More of the Johnny jump up, and that's actually a weed that's popping in through there, so pull that out. Because it's effectively no dig, they come out nice and easily. More alyssum, which I kind of just use as a bit of a, well, for the smell, because they do smell quite lovely, but also just as a bit of a ground thing for everything else to grow up through and create a bit more colour. And a random snow pea, I think. So that is the garden. October 28th, 2023. Thanks for watching, and happy gardening.